Hey, everybody, welcome back. Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. I'm so excited to be talking about AI today, one of my favorite topics. And in fact, as soon as we get done with this podcast, I'm attending an AI training myself so that I could turn around and train you on how to use AI in the workplace. But today we have an expert, a CEO and co-founder of Hiring Branch, a soft skills AI company. Welcome to the show, Stef Rivard.
Hey, thanks. I'm excited to be here, Wendy. Excited to be talking about AI and the possibilities of what it can do.
I love it. So I know that you have hands-on experience with bias audit processes and tying AI to hiring to real job performance, which is so important. With the debate around ethical AI and HR, including the recent eightfold AI lawsuit, your perspective is going to resonate with listeners who either are wearing the HR hat full-time or as one of their many responsibilities. So I love that, you're just this visionary entrepreneur and a global mission to transform workplace performance through innovative skill-based hiring. Before we jump into that, first of all, thanks for your time today. Tell our listeners about yourself and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've always wanted to solve problems, and I've always wanted to work for myself. So since university, I always had side businesses, and I came across, of course, the computer world somewhere early in my career, and realized that you can accomplish and do a lot of things. And from there on, I started in language training and language working. We're working with universities and corporations around the world, specifically for foreign language training, using digital systems, which was quite unique at the time. And at some point, we had customers using our platforms to do mock interviews. And at the very beginning,
Very cool.
it was really interesting. And this was probably in the 2015s, 14s. And they had a problem where they had so many candidates. And the norm for hiring back there was using language assessments or behavioral or cognitive assessments. And the specific need was for high volume hiring in contact centers at that point. And we decided, well, language and CFR rating, how you speak is really important, but more importantly, the premise we had is that soft skills are more important. So even though you can communicate in a language, doesn't mean that you understand a customer or you can active listen and you know what the problem is. So we in 2018, we started working on developing AI that evaluates that. And it takes us to where we are now, which is, performance-based hiring, where you give the candidate a chance to demonstrate their skills, not based on their CVs. So this is where it's part of my journey. I had lots of other companies around that, but the crux of what I've always done has always been in the digital world.
Okay, well, I love it because, as the HR lady, I would love people to be hired based off of their actual skills rather than, who they paid to help them create a amazing resume. And I say that because I'm literally creating resumes for my friends all the time, but I take the time to like kind of interview them and say,
Yeah.
okay, let's not just make this a marketing piece because eventually they're going to find out and fire you. Uh, let's make sure that we're actually basing it off of your skills, but not everybody knows how to do that. AI can help, but AI could also help you be fraudulent as well, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. And I think that's probably, one of the biggest concerns what we're seeing now with AI is the amount of fraudulent applications. I've heard as high as 40% for some industries, but there's probably a benchmark of 25 to 40%. And that could be either impersonations or it could be, an AI co-pilot that works along with you when you're doing the interview. So it is a huge problem. And or CV writing, everyone's using an LLM to write their CVs. And with especially, click to apply, the CV can be adapted for the role in a split second, and they can do that for 500 jobs. So this is becoming a huge problem for candidates and more important for employers. How do you find the person who has the actual skills?
Right. I love it. I'm read a statistic that 90% of companies are now using AI in hiring in some form. And as you just said, now candidates are learning how to do it too. Again, folks, this isn't anything new. Like, I mean, AI is, but getting, having amazing marketing pieces as resumes, but not everybody knew how to do that. Not everybody knew had the money to do that or the technology to do that. Now we literally have it at our fingertips, and for majority of people it's free because you can just get on free trials. So my question is, you've spoken about the search for truly objective candidate evaluation. Do you believe it's actually possible to create, irrefutable hiring technology, or is it some level of subjectivity always unavoidable?
Well, I can tell you how we've approached the problem, and then I'll tell you how our clients would answer that question, not as a company or, one of our objectives. I can actually tell you that we started when we started with the platform, building the AI, is that we had this premise that specific jobs, so let's say you're in-person retail or you're in healthcare, that you need specific skills to deal with clients. And there's a lot of study based around if a doctor is more empathetic and listens to the patient, the outcomes will be better. It's the same thing in sales. If someone calls in and your friend had a better phone plan than you did, the agent who has the better skills and listens to you, empathizes with you, will get you a better outcome. There's no difference in the deal offering, no difference in the medication in the hospital in the medical world, but really using your skills and getting people to be heard. And we started with that premise and using a linguistic background. So our company is based on PhD who specialize in linguistics, which means using specific speech acts, words, how to use them, and how do you say those words, and working with these large customers. And you're talking about people who hire, tens of thousands of people a year with massive data, that we were able to prove that certain jobs require certain skills. And if you follow this and you hire according to those specific skills, and these are not multiple choice, it's how you express yourself, the words you use, the order you use the words, how you pick up on client conversations, then you will get better outcomes. To the point that we work with one of the largest employers in the world. And recently, again, they realized that by using this process, they were getting better outcomes. So they were hiring people within very quick time, 48 hours compared to like 2 or 3 weeks, skipping all the interviews, and the people who were hiring were on par or better than their old process. And we see this over and over again. So we don't make that claim. It's our customers every time come to us and say, look, using this standardized way that is unbiased, by looking for specific skills that we need for the job, which many times the employer doesn't know because you need to do a deep dive by looking at the data sets, that you come into a place where you realize, okay, I need to hire for, empathy, fluency, active listening, building rapport, handling
Mhm.
objection, and then you use a process that puts the candidate in that space, that conversation, and measure it accurately, then you're going to get great outcomes. And this is how we got to where we are now.
So important. I was reading, I'm really big on statistics because there's just so much fake
Yeah.
news out there. And I was reading a report that said, I'm in the United States. I know you're in Canada. 62% of Americans believe AI will significantly impact workers, meaning they're uncertain about their jobs.
Mhm.
And the interesting thing, there was a study in last year in 2025 for Canadians. It's even higher for Canadians of
Yeah.
78% of Canadians believe AI harms human jobs, with significant anxiety about, these things called hallucinations and inaccuracies.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it's huge. AI adoption is massive, but trust is so behind, and clarity. And I teach AI, and I'm definitely like, okay, please don't put your name in there. Please don't put your company name in there. I know you're going to do it anyways, but I'm going to just go ahead and say this warning over here. So I wanted to kind of switch gears here and talk about, bias and resumes. I know that hiring branch focuses on evaluating humans instead
Yeah.
of documents. Thank you very much. How does that shift practically reduce bias compared to a human traditional resume screening? Is it good,
Yeah.
or is it better? Is it worse? Talk to me about bias and using AI technology for resume screening.
Yeah, I was listening to, this probably dates now a year and a half, 2 years, but Ken Wheeler said the human is inherently more biased than using an AI tool or some kind of, impartial tool. And we've been able to prove this. Every year we go through a third party audit to make sure that our tool is not being selective based on background, race, beliefs, religion. And every year our tool is completely unbiased. And the reason about that is that it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter where you grew up. If you have the skills, and we're talking about in the soft skills region, if you're an underprivileged kid, you still have to express those skills. If you have a mother that's raised 5 kids and you've never worked in sales, I can tell you something. When dealing with all these people and your kids and handling conflict, you're going to develop great soft skills. So we see that in our platform, it's completely unbiased, and our customers tell us like they're surprised sometimes who they hire, because the way our platform works is that it works at the top of the funnel, so it is the first filter. And typically, our customers, once that they find through our platform the candidates that have the right skills, then they'll do an operational interview. So it's no longer initial interview trying to figure out the background. It's really just an operational interview. And they're always amazed that I probably would have not selected that person on paper because they had holes in their CVs, or they're just reintegrating the workforce, or for whatever reason. And this is what the big advantage of it. It widens the field for employers, and more importantly, the candidates feel that they're getting a more authentic opportunity at the job. We did a project, we're doing one right now with a large Canadian fintech company. They're in the mortgage business, and the candidates keep on saying, this is the most human, uh, besides doing an interview, but the fairest, most humanistic approach to being hired. Not only am I feel that I'm getting a fair chance, but I'm also getting to see what the job entails. Like, selling mortgages or renewals or dealing. These are not easy jobs, even though, and they're probably the most important jobs for a company. So all these things is like, I think by opening up your pool, not limiting, if you're a HR manager and you've got 400 CVs and you need to hire 10 people, do you have the time or the energy to be able to go look at the 400 evenly? I don't think so. And CV parsing will only look at keywords. So all of a sudden you're putting everyone and then it's grading them according to what you need. So that person may have special skills in something else, but if you need in healthcare, you need to have specific skills. We're going to find those people for you, or the platform and the AI will.
I love it. I mean, recruiting's hard. It's time consuming, and not
Yeah.
everybody has a role that is specifically dedicated to recruiting. I know I didn't. When I was in corporate HR, and even for my private clients now as a consultant, you throw in their recruiting as a job responsibility, and then you're scrolling through resumes, and you get one little interrupted from your kid, your dog, your cat, and you scroll by a different resume, and that's the candidate that you were looking for.
Yeah.
So it's super to important, folks, to consider using some kind of AI to help you. There is a state of AI bias and talent acquisition report in 2025. It was done by Warden AI, and the results, oh my goodness. AI systems outperform humans on fairness metrics, scoring an average of 0.94 compared to 0.67% for human-led hiring. This is the part that I really like as a woman. I was like, whoa, AI systems deliver up to 39% fairer treatment for women and 45% fairer treatment for racial minority candidates compared to an actual human making decisions. Like, yikes, that's scary.
That is very scary. We hear this from our customers, but it's great to see, like, actually statistically proven. And I have no doubt about it that, as you're mentioning, people are busy. And if we have one company that she reviews, I think, is like 150 CVs a day, and she's doing it during meetings. It's constant. All of a
Whoa.
sudden, like, this has now been replaced by an AI tool, and the impact is tremendous. So it's really fascinating that the data represents that also.
Yeah, now, little side note here, there's other data, and it depends on what AI tool you use, that says that AI resume screeners favored white associated names 85% of the time in some experiments. And so that was from a University of Washington study. So, we still got to be careful here, folks. We have to be very, very careful, but lean into AI, at a minimum, learn about it, and then you could understand it a little bit, not just learn about how to use it, but what's behind it. So
Correct.
very important. So switching gears here, we'll keep it on the same gear, really. I want to talk about, AI accountability and real performance. One of the biggest criticisms of AI in hiring is that it doesn't always correlate with real job success. So talk to us about your model, and how do you ensure your models are actually predicting performance, not just optimizing for like proxy signals?
Yeah, and I think that's really, the strength of what we do, is because We work with customers that, collect KPIs. So, typically where we're successful at is more high volume. So not hiring a one-off because it's difficult to measure for a one-off. But let's say you're hiring for a team of sales development reps, or you're hiring for business development reps, or customer service or in-person retail. And typically they keep lots of different metrics for these kind of jobs, anywhere from absenteeism to revenue, to turnover, retention. And in every single instance, we aligned where the challenge is. So we had one customer where the absenteeism was a problem and retention. And by using I kind of approach, we were able to measure the benchmark where they were. And after about 90 days, they realized that absenteeism had gone down. And the theory behind it, what we were able to prove, is that we were finally hiring people with the right communication skills and the right soft skills to deal with difficult customers. It was a very, it was financial operations where were doing a lot of fraud investigations. So all of a sudden, so I think by using an AI and in a platform that, historically they were using behavioral cognitive, and these are just multiple choice. So you have a binary signal of yes or no, this person has it. In a kind of platform that we have, you have all these layers. So there are hundreds and hundreds of different metrics that can be correlated to performance and combined. And specifically in our platform, we have two that we've created: quality focus and customer focus. And those really incredibly correlate to performance. It's not active listening, it's not empathetic, it's not one of these standalone. It's really a combination. And then when you're digging into the customer's data, you're able to fine tune it. And back to where you said before, if you're using an AI platform on its own, it's not any more intelligent than you ever will be. You need the knowledge worker. You need that person who has that knowledge, the expertise, that hiring manager, that TA lead that has the expertise about their business to be able to successfully exclude. And I think that if you use this combination of those skills by using a system that measures hundreds of metrics and able to adjust it on the fly dynamically all the time, because jobs change, then you will get performance-based hiring. And the outcome for that is that we see large enterprises reduce their 90-day attrition to 10%, down from 68%. No, sorry, 32% down to 10%, which is incredible impact.
Wow, it
You,
is.
you see revenues increase. We have a customer that is into fundraising. They increase their revenues and closing by 10%, changing nothing else and eliminating the initial interviews. So
Wow.
it's really fun. And then we have, data around all this everywhere. We have cohorts where they used to have the old process and only about 68% would go into production. This is contact center. So operations, now they're in the 90s. Just because you're
Right.
hiring the people who have the skills, perseverance, grit, whatever that may be, the critical thinking skills that are measured right on the inception. Yeah.
So is a robot doing the interviews?
Yeah, there it's a situational environment. So you're put in situations, you're talking to a virtual customer, and we're evaluating how well you are. We evaluate the skills you have, the skill gaps, the skills that you also have. So are you trainable or not? So many times people, have a lot of the skills, but they may be missing one or two. And then the technology is sharp enough that to base it that we can train you on these two skills. And other people say, this is not a good fit, that these are your skills, but this is not a kind of role for you. And a lot of time people also self-select out because they realize, position it. We have an example in the house. We have this person who's great at customer service that says, you're great with people. People love you. I'm going to put you as a help me with sales. And he refused. And we put him in our sales simulation and he failed. So
No
ironically,
way.
so it's that precise, even though that he had great customer service skills, great people skills, positioning a product is just not in him. It's just not in it. Like he's not comfortable with it, how to handle objections. Just so it's fascinating that these little details that is very difficult to pick up in an interview, that the AI tool can do that.
I love it. Now, there was some news that came out from University of Washington, the end of 2025, that said they did a study and that 80% of organizations are still keeping humans in the loop because companies and humans don't fully trust AI to stand alone. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Yeah, we're seeing that, the AI is doing the heavy lifting, especially with the amount of people applying for jobs. and the recruiter hiring managers are being used now more at the operational, not operational, but it's really the last gatekeeper before you get the job. So they're already pre-prepared about the candidate. They have some background on it, and they can make sure that they're a good cultural fit, that they validate that the skills that the AI has proven. So we're seeing that, and typically this is the best outcomes, like from our customers. So reducing the amount of trying to, at the top of the funnel initial interview, which is extremely time consuming. We have customers that they have 40 people. This is all they do, 40 hours a week. That's all they do. All of a sudden, this is replaced, and now these interviewers are now doing operational interviews, making sure that the people that have been pre-selected and graded are really a good fit. And the outcomes for that is tremendous. Faster hire, better fit, better outcomes, and better results.
I love it. Now, I've heard that, and I know it's not too long ago, at the time of us recording this, that there was a lawsuit regarding AI being under fire. It was called the Eightfold lawsuit. I'm assuming you're aware of that, correct?
Yes, yes.
So, just to bring our listeners in the loop here, the lawsuit brought by former EEOC chair. It didn't claim that the algorithm was biased. It claimed that the algorithm used AI in hiring was in secret. And so talk to us about how that changes everything that you're talking about, or does it at all?
Yeah, I think, when you're in the type of company we are, I think you need to be extremely transparent of what you're doing and what you're measuring.
Bingo. Yep.
And when we put people in scenarios, we tell them exactly what was expected of them and what we're measuring. I'm not 100% understand the whole eightfold, but I know that they were collecting data unbeknownst to the candidate and using it part of their algorithms. There was a patent, there was even a patent about it, even though they denied it. There was a patent describing what they were doing. So I think for companies, more importantly, that you need to be transparent and tell them exactly what you're measuring, what we expect, and how you can perform in this as assessment, this AI interview, and that's really the beginning of being important. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And the eightfold AI, it's fairly new. That I think the result I want to say was just like in January or February, and it the candidates were saying, "Hey, you weren't transparent about you were using AI, so folks, please be transparent." I mean, it's one of my company values, and it's very important. People won't trust you as a human or as AI if you're not transparent. But they were also saying, "Hey, you weren't just using the information in my application or in my interview, but you were scraping social media," which they deny doing that, but we'll see about that. So be transparent no matter what you're using. It's so important. It's hard enough to retain employees, never mind attract employees if our company has bad branding out there in the news, which with social media can go right, wrong, or indifferent, truthful or not, at any point in time, right?
Yeah, and I agree. Transparency should be the basis of any company, technology, and society. Let people know what to expect from them, and they will perform to that level or not. That will be their decision. But being
Yeah.
transparent is really important.
Absolutely. I mean, speed is winning, right? But transparency is expected. HR leaders are under pressure to hire faster and more efficiently, or even I should just say HR and leaders, because many small businesses don't have HR. And to ensure transparency, how do you balance explaining this, though? How do you say to a candidate or on your website or whatever, hey, we use AI, but this is how we use it, so they don't go, oh, you're stealing my information.
Yeah, so at the beginning of every process when you start, we tell them what we're going to be measuring, what we record, and then every scenario also tells them this is what we expect from you. Listen to the customer. We're not looking for the right answer, and these are the criteria we're looking for. So we put them aware of the scenario and what we're looking for. So it's clear from it's not a surprise. We're not going to go measure, and all we measure is the data you give us. So it's really, your responses, either written or spoken to scenarios. And we measure those. And of course, it's not a black box. We can explain how decisions are being made, and it's been backed up by third-party audits, and it's also being backed up by company performance reports. So we know exactly what to be doing. So by setting that expectation, letting people know what they need to do, then I think from the onset they know that this is where the expectation is.
At this right now, there was a statistic from Time, and it said 96% of hiring professionals are already using AI tools. And I honestly think many people don't even realize it's AI. And I'll just give you an example. Just this morning, I was, because I'm like addicted to AI right now, and I'm going down like a huge rabbit hole of like, how could this make my life easier? But more importantly, how can it make my clients' life and society easier? And I was like, oh, what AI tool can I use to transcribe my meetings? And then I realized, oh my goodness, I was using AI tools years ago to transcribe like live Zoom meetings or internal like go-to meetings. Little did we know that that was actually AI, maybe AI pre 101, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
folks, you're probably using AI already and don't even realize it.
Yeah, it's been around for it's been around for a long time. The only innovation AI is these new large language models and transformer processing. But you're right, like there's AI, everything you do, your device is full of AI, like decision making, tons of decision making tools around you.
Yeah, we just don't even realize it.
We
Hey,
don't
switching
realize.
gears here real quick off of
Yeah.
AI, Steph. I hear you are an avid chess player and an outdoor enthusiast who enjoys skiing, running, mountain biking, and
Yes.
sailing. And wait a minute, also an FIS Alpine technical delegate officiating international alpine ski races. Whoa, you're a little busy.
I'm a little busy, yes. I am a little busy, yes. Yeah, I've been involved in amateur sports my whole life, and various coaching and responsibility. And recently, after 2 years of training, I passed my FIS license so I can officiate alpine races. And eventually, at the you need to get experience, but I'm certified to do Olympics and World Cups, and hopefully one day I will do one of those. But right now, I do regional races and things of that nature, and it's a volunteer position. It's lots of fun, keeps me busy, and it's also good to get away from being involved 24/7 in the job, and it opens up your mind. I get my best ideas when I'm out doing sports or playing chess or doing something else.
I love it. So, see, even Stef Rivard, CEO and co-founder of Hiring Branch, a soft skills AI company, still connects to nature and still connects to humans in order to get inspired to improve technology and AI. So, it's interesting how us humans come full circle around, even when we don't intend to. So, before we wrap up, are there any resources you'd recommend for listeners diving deeper into, AI in hiring or AI with soft skills? Obviously your company, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's lots of resources available, but I think the advice I have there are so many different. There's 10 powerful LLMs out there nowadays besides ChatGPT and Copilot. There's so many. They're all specializing in something. But the reality is that I think that instead of fearing AI, is that you as a human have all these skills that you've accumulated, these knowledge, and all it does is that it goes complement. And to your point before is that they do hallucinate. They do want to make you feel good, these LLMs, but if you use it in a very practical way and you challenge it, it's just like a human. An LLM can be challenged. So if they give you an answer, you can go and challenge it. You can say, I think you can do better. I'm curious, do you have another idea with this? And if you start thinking it like more of like a relationship and leveraging your knowledge and validating that it's true, then all of these can really lead you to incredible outcomes. And the last thing is, I think we're just at the beginning. We're at the very, very beginning. We're not even at the first step. So over the next, 2, 3, 5, 10 years, LLMs and these AI will become extremely powerful. Will they replace humans? Possibly some tasks, but I think the human still has an important role to play with their knowledge base and the experience.
And for those of you that are not familiar with AI technology or terminology, he just mentioned the word hallucination, and it took me a while to figure out what it is. It's basically a mistake, a type of error when AI confidently states something that sounds plausible, but isn't actually, it's actually wrong or incorrect or misleading. And so this is where it's still important, folks, to lean into AI, help it get things off your plate, help you get things done quicker, faster, but we still need a human involved to QC it in case there are those errors. How can people connect with you, Steph?
Oh, well, they can email me at steph@hiringbranch.com, or they can LinkedIn, Stefan Rivard, or of course, you can always come to our website, hiringbranch.com, where we
Excellent.
are there. Yep.
I'll make sure I put all those links in the podcast notes. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Hope this podcast session has been beneficial and helpful to you. Thanks so much, Steph.
Thank you very much, Wendy. I love the opportunity and I love chatting with you.
Take care, everybody.